From the kitchen of the cabin, it's the 5 Games for Doomsday review.
Chicago 1875, City of the Big Shoulders. Why do we have entertainment? Why did our ancestors daub cave walls with reminiscences of their daily hunt? What is the purpose of a painting, a book, a song? Why do people point movie cameras at things and people and record their movements? Is entertainment an unintended consequence of evolution? An unnecessary frippery that grew out of our advanced intelligence? Or is it an extended phenotype? I have this idea that art tells us something about ourselves, that it's a dissecting table on which to slice up human experience and see how it works. We frame entertainment as a distraction, a well-earned break from the serious business of work. But could it be an intrinsic part of what it is to be human? It is so prevalent, it seems conceivable that it could have an evolutionary purpose. Could the exercise of art and the empathy and understanding it engenders lead to a greater cohesiveness among societies and therefore a greater chance of having children and a greater chance of those children surviving? Could making movies, writing novels and playing games be a genetically selected benefit to the species? Does the cognitive satisfaction promoted by games make us more fit as animals? Does the simple act of spending time with one another in the contemplation of art done well strengthen the species? If so, I can think of no more valuable way to contemplate the art form of games than by spending a good couple of hours unravelling the puzzle that is Chicago 1875, City of the Big Shoulders. And if it's not improving the brain of at least one of the species, it certainly feels like it is. In Chicago 1875, City of the Big Shoulders, players are venture capitalists trying to tame the jungle that is Chicago at the end of the 19th century. You start by buying a controlling stock in a company, and then you can purchase more of that stock or dip your toes into your opponent's firms. After this, you construct buildings in the city. These are worker placement spots that can be used to gain resources, spruce up your factories, and a myriad of other bonuses. Sometimes your company pays money to the person who built the building, sometimes the bank does. You then run your company. This means firing up your factories and selling the fruits of this labour to the market. You then pay out dividends to your shareholders, thereby increasing the stock value of your company and generating a healthy profit for yourself. There is the concept of personal money and company money in this game. Company money is how you negotiate the various hurdles you need to jump to make your company profitable. But you win by having the biggest personal fortune at the end. So managing the relationship of your personal and company money and understanding that the betterment of your opponent's companies can be hugely beneficial to you is the only way you can nose yourself ahead and win the game. This is a game that on the surface seems overbearing in its complexity, but once the flow of the game has been understood, the rigorous engineering of the design supports an ease of play that is engagingly intuitive. I cannot speak to the success or otherwise of the amalgam of 18xx and worker placement here, but I can say, without restraint, that City of the Big Shoulders is a compelling experience and an exceptionally good time. There is real meat on the bones of this game, and every decision carries import. It starts with which company to choose. These companies sell to one of 4 markets, and having a captive market is a great advantage, so even in this seemingly simple decision, there is a tricky negotiation to contend with, and the rest of the important decisions follow from there. This game is hugely interactive, and you're never simply thinking about yourself. Your opponent's motivations and predilections are paramount in your decision process. You manipulate your stocks in this game by manipulating those around the table. Your stock price is determined by the amount of dividends you pay out, and as you never own more than 60% of your own company, you need the other players to buy your shares and to help them drive up their value. This isn't done by the cold application of economic science either, but the real face-to-face appearance of trust. What on the surface could seem like a dry affair promotes entreaties and cries of despair and delight. You speak to your opponent, you cajole and encourage them, and this is wonderful. I'm always full of admiration for those that can transform a game's mechanics into representations of the real world, and City of the Big Shoulders does this beautifully. Demand will reduce over the course of the 5 decades of play, and as workers are bumped out of factories by the creeping threat of automation, there will be a glut of cheap labour that will, as the game continues, become cheaper and cheaper and eventually become obsolete. The game stops just as the Great Depression is looming on the horizon. The game tells a story of decreasing demand. It tells a story of the labour market becoming more and more dilute, and it tells a story of the kind of collapse that is the inevitable result of greed. This is a story of how unchecked capitalism can destroy a system by short-term gluttony. As production is maximised and wages slashed, the desire to buy what is made is reduced to almost nothing and everything grinds to a halt. All of this is told through the beautiful employment of the mechanics alone. City of the Big Shoulders lets us know that when the only consideration is the pocketbook of the shareholders, nothing will hold back the tide of depression. City of the Big Shoulders is a call for sense and restraint, and I admire it greatly. The biggest takeaway I have is that you shouldn't be afraid of heavy games. When they're designed well, they're eminently graspable and wonderfully satisfying, and this game is designed skillfully, and it's a great way to spend your time. And if participation in art has an intrinsic virtue, then Chicago 1875, City of the Big Shoulders, is doing a hell of a lot of good. Thank you for listening, and you can support this show by going to patreon.com/5G4D.